Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and while I know that I have bashed on Polygon time and time again over these past couple of years, and rightfully so in most instances, I will admit that from time to time, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and every once in a blue moon they manage to actually publish some worthwhile information. And as that is the case, the initial information that was the impetus for this video actually came from Polygon, and trust me, no one was more surprised by their actually putting out something worthwhile than me. Now, before I go into the reasons behind why this sort of thing with Fallout 76 is bad, let's run through the basic facts in very simple terms. Links to any sources used, as well as links to my Patreon, social media, and Discord server are in the description down below. So as you might have guessed from the title, Polygon released an article discussing how Bethesda had tied the gameplay movement speed to the game's frame rate in Fallout 76. This issue with increased game speed for individual players was discovered as people went into the game's INI files in order to unlock the frame rate, a very common thing to do on PC for gamers looking for a smoother gameplay experience. The issue was first pointed out on Reddit and in some YouTube videos showcasing the increased movement speed like the one that is on your screen now from the game Fallout 4, where this video showcases the game's speed at 60 Hz, 144 Hz, and 266 Hz. Then there is also this unlisted video that showcases players looking at the ground, which causes the game to have to render less objects, raising the frame rate of the game for that player, which allows them to move faster within the game than they otherwise normally would. This would also explain why people playing the game on the PC have noted that there is no field of view slider within the game, something that is a very common feature with first-person games on PC. Now, a great many people on social media have been stating that this is because of Gamebryo, the game engine that Bethesda had used for Fallout 3 and the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and is extremely common with that engine. And I wanted to point that out specifically because I know that there will be others out there that will attempt to defend Bethesda by stating that they have not used the Gamebryo engine in over a decade, instead using the newer Creation engine instead, the same engine that was used for Fallout 4 and Skyrim. However, while Creation Engine is a newer engine than Gamebryo, it has been stated on numerous sites that the Creation Engine does make use of a lot of core framework elements from Gamebryo, and this issue with the gameplay speed being tied to the frame rate is one of them. Now, why is this important? Why does it even matter? A lot of people have, as I said previously, have stated that this is just how Bethesda games have been, and it's no big issue. And while they are correct, this is how it has been with Bethesda games, it is now an issue because, unlike previous Elder Scrolls games and previous Fallout titles developed by Bethesda, Fallout 76 is a purely multiplayer game, much akin to an MMO Lite. The game is always online, and you will always have to contend with other players, especially when it comes to the ever-present PvP. And when you factor in the aspect that not only do players running at higher frame rates will have a clear advantage over others by sheer movement speed alone, weapons move faster as well, meaning if you are playing at over 200 Hz, you will be able to move faster and shoot faster than a person running at 60 Hz or even as low as 30 Hz. As that is the case, what Bethesda has on their hands now is a scenario where speed hacks are not only present within the game prior to launch, all one need do in order to cheat is to open a file in Notepad and change a single line. And what's even worse for the developers is that this is due to the engine, not simply bad coding on the part of the developers. Oh, I know I give Bethesda a lot of grief, but this one just comes right down to bad engine design. Also, in spite of all of Bethesda's defenders that have shown up in my Twitter feed and will invariably show up in the comments in this video with the already tired line of, "It's a beta, that's what betas are for, they'll probably fix it before launch," I have to say that this is one of those issues that isn't quite as simple as all that. Also, this isn't a beta, it's a stress test, but that's still in a video that will be recorded at a later date, so we'll just move on past that. You see, right now, the options for Bethesda to be able to remedy this are limited, and none of those options are really all that good. The first option would be to obviously remove the coding that ties the frame rate to the INI file. The difficulty here is that Bethesda would still need to find some way to control the frame rate. Most likely what would happen in this instance would be for them to enforce VSync with the game, which would tie the game's refresh rate to the refresh rate of the player's monitor. Now, this carries with it two very distinct problems right off the top of my head. The first is that VSync really isn't that great, and it creates what is called input lag, where there is a delay between when a player tries to do something and those commands being carried out by the game. This is especially not a desirable thing for the gamer, as it will cause frustratingly slow to respond controls within a first or third person online shooter game with PvP elements. Definitely not what I would call an ideal situation. The second problem I can think of is that, yes, most players run with 60Hz monitors, but there are still more than a zero-sum number of gamers out there that run with 144Hz monitors. Enforcing VSync would still provide those gamers with deeper pockets a distinct gameplay advantage over others. Buy a more expensive monitor with a faster refresh rate, VSync kicks up the frame rate of your game, and then you do better against your opponents. The other option is to remove the frame rate option from the INI file as before, not enforce VSync, and instead enforce a global maximum frame rate on the game somewhere that can't be easily located or disabled. The problem here is, again, twofold. First, what frame rate do you lock everything at? The game is on PC after all, and a lot of gamers, myself included, would not find a 30 FPS frame rate lock to be at all acceptable. 60? Maybe, but you will still frustrate a lot of gamers. What about 120? I think that would probably be at the low end of what most high-end equipment owners would deem acceptable, but then you have the second problem where those players running budget builds would not be able to get more than 30 or 60 FPS out of their rigs, which puts us right back into that whole pay-to-win advantage where the pay aspect is in hardware as opposed to microtransactions. And remember, this hardware aspect is not in monitors. It's in drive performance, RAM, CPU, and graphics. One common misconception I hear is that whatever the refresh rate of your monitor, that's your frame rate. It's really not, unless VSync is coming into play. You can very well have a game running at 200 Hz and still only have a 60 Hz monitor and still be able to play the game just fine. The game and the refresh rate of the graphics card doesn't have to match your monitor, hence why you can also have games running at 30 frames per second regardless of what monitor you have. Now there is a secret hidden third option, but it's not one we will likely see, at least not with Fallout 76. That option is where Bethesda actually goes in, does a deep dive, and fixes their game engine to no longer tie gameplay speed to the frame rate of the game. Now, if Bethesda were to do this, there could be any number of unknown consequences and after effects for the game, and as that is the case, I really don't think it likely that we will see that secret third option put into play, and we will instead see one of the first two options. Now, as it stands though, this is a huge problem for Fallout 76 on PC, and no matter what Bethesda decides to do to try and resolve this, if anything, I don't envy them on this one. The launch of the game on PC is shaping up to be very rough days ahead just based on this alone, regardless of its beta status or no. This is a very significant issue that will give a lot of PC gamers reason to reconsider purchasing the game. And while we all know that Bethesda games are notoriously buggy and broken until the modding community sweeps in to save the day, Bethesda will not be able to lean on that modder crutch that they always did in the past for quite some time. It's troubled waters ahead for Fallout 76 on PC, and this is not at all encouraging. But as always, please do let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.